Okay, good evening, everybody. We already called the meeting to order, but we could stand up for the pledge.
It's a different meeting.
Well, first we got to do the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I know. I got it. So first I need a motion to call the public hearing.
Motion.
Second, that's Kelly and Christine. Any discussion? All those in favor? A motion passes. So now we're in the public hearing. Okay. So you have a presentation?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This is just a special public hearing, which will be followed by the regular business meeting afterwards. This is a public hearing about the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption. I want to just make it clear that this is not a new thing. This is something that's been around for a while, and we do it to support our local volunteer ambulance and firefighters, and we are grateful for their service. Some of them are here tonight, so I just want to thank all of you for your service. Let's give them a nice welcome. And I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Messerell, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, who's going to just kind of explain what this is, how it affects our tax base, and how it affects everyone really in the community at large.
Thank you, Dr. Ferris. I know that both recruitment and retainment is a very big concern in terms of our volunteer fire and ambulance workers. So this evening, I'm just going to go over some background information with regard to what we currently have in place with a tax exemption for the volunteer firefighter and ambulance worker exemption, and then what is changing and what is being proposed. There will be a public comment section when I am finished, and then we will then have a resolution by the Board of Education. So currently what we have is under real property tax law, section 466C. It allows for a tax exemption for those volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers up to 10% of their property's assessed value. That is currently in place. That will sunset on December 9th, 2025, which brings us here this evening because in order for the new real property tax law, section 466A, to come into place, we would have to pass a new resolution. And in order for it to be part of the taxable status for the coming year, it has to be done prior to March 1, 2025. So I thank everyone for being here this evening. Currently, what the Sayville School District offers is a 10% school tax reduction for any Sayville resident who's a volunteer firefighter or a volunteer ambulance worker with at least 5 years of service who meet the eligibility requirements. There is also a lifetime exemption to those with more than 20 years of service. So if you would just forward. So a reduction in assessed value does not equate to what the levy is that the school district puts forth. So it is a reduction for a resident in their assessed value, and we collect the same amount of taxes. So what that means is that any tax exemptions do result in a shift to the tax burden for those taxpayers that are granted the relief and not qualifying for the exemption. So based upon the assessment relief currently in place, we know from our records that there are 125 exemptions for the volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers. And the total assessed value that is exempted under that tax exemption is $564,089, and that's assessed value, not taxes. So that would equate to roughly, if we have 125 exemptions, an assessment exemption of $4,512. So here is a summary that I think neatly shows the first column of what we currently have in place, and the second column, which is the change in real property tax law 466A. And really the major change is the minimum years of service. So the board can elect to either do 2 years of volunteer service, 3, 4, 5, or I guess up to 20. The proposal here is that we would change from 5 years to the 2 years with this new tax exemption. So in the next slide, I'll share with you what that impact is to our taxpayers. So if the board were to grant the partial exemption from 5 to 2, the amount of it would not affect any of our current volunteers that have 5 years or more service. And the reduction from 5 years to 2 is very negligible. This information has been shared. There's nothing very concrete, although I was very appreciative to both our Sayville Fire District and our community ambulance for sharing their rosters, so that it did give our Board of Education some good knowledge, or at least background information, to come up and make a decision for any resolution that we were to pass. So,
Sorry, can I interrupt for just a
Yes.
moment?
Use your mic.
I just wanted to confirm, so it's this Sayville Fire Department and the Community Ambulance and the West Sayville Fire Department.
yes, it is.
Okay.
So, and just thank you, Ms. Sachs. So we have the Sayville Fire District, which serves 100% of our Sayville School District. We have the Community Ambulance and also the West Sayville that both share in their service to Connecticut School District and also to the Sayville School District. So, as a business official, we speak with other business officials and within the town of Islip. And so far, it has been shared with me that any of those school districts that have passed the resolution so far have gone down to the 2 years. So,
And I mean, I'll just add from discussions I've had with you that the immediate impact from the data that we got from Islip Town would be like only 6 people would be eligible right now to get that benefit. So
6
it
additional,
only,
right?
it only has a $27,000 impact on the assessed value, shifting from non-exempt to exempt, which is 0.1% impact on the tax rate.
0.01.
Yeah, 0.01.
Yes.
And obviously, if the program works and attracts more volunteer service, it will slowly impact our tax rate.
yeah, it's been shared with the town of Islip that it was like 3 ambulance workers and 3 volunteer fighters. So, there's no hard, decision in exactly what that is, because we certainly don't know how many of them are actual residents, and they could be family members or something like that. But that's the information that's been shared with us.
Has Connecticut voted on their years?
No, I have been told by the business official there that they were not even bringing up this topic as of this date. So I could not share with you what their decision was. It would have been very helpful because of the shared services in those 2 districts. But
Do you want to share what other districts around us have been doing?
yeah, so far Islip, West Islip, well, actually I can't say West Islip is having a public hearing this evening on this very topic. It was the decision to most likely move forward with 2 years, but Bayport Blue Point has provided for 2 years, going down to the 2 years, and Islip and East Islip.
The town of Islip as well, I thought.
Yes, so yeah, that's a given. Each of the municipalities have to make their own board decision, but yes, the town of Islip has already passed that.
Yeah, just a point of just a perspective. Cost of living on Long Island is very difficult. It's a lot of people can't stay here, can't afford to stay here. And most of our equity in our homes is really most of our wealth, and the fire department's protecting it. EMTs are saving our lives. I think for me, I just have very strong feelings to support this because I think that, we have superior cultures in both fire departments as well as our ambulance company. And those 3 years, like that's where you're talking about that's a really good target, because those are people that have expressed an interest and have been involved. But to retain them, you could lose them, they could move. So I think when you're picking up with giving them minimal impact, and thanks, Tom, for spelling that out, like, that's a good target to zero in on. Because again, like, our homes are that's our retirement, that's everything. So this is an investment as much personally in our own, future of our kids as it is for the school district. To me, I since I've heard this, I thought this was a no-brainer completely. And I thank you guys for what you do for our community.
So at this time, I would open up the public hearing and the public comment section. I don't know if anyone had a question or a comment that they wanted to make.
Right, and those should be specific to this particular
Correct.
hearing, right?
Any comments or questions?
Yes.
I don't think my mic is on. I project loud, so.
Oh, it is on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Carol Steuben. Actually, I'm not here about the fire department. Thank you for your service. I have a son who's an EMT, and we're in Setauket, and I do believe they've adopted the 2-year, just FYI. I'm here on a separate issue. This is an issue about, can you not hear me?
No, but we're doing the hearing on the fire department right now.
Oh, this-
And then we'll have an open
And
session
right after we're
after.
going
That's what
into,
my question was. This is about the senior exemption, so.
okay,
Sorry.
sorry.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
To say, my brother and his family had a very, very serious house fire years ago on Green Avenue, and we thank you. We thank you.
On behalf of all the firefighters here, there's about 100 more outside, so we didn't really want to bring everybody in, but, and I want to thank the school board, because you have one of the thankless jobs that we have as fire commissioners. A lot of ridicule, not a lot of praise, and keep our taxes low. And so I want to personally thank you. I know most of the members. I spoke to Dr. Ferris today. All my chiefs are here from both fire departments, the ambulance chiefs and the directors. And, it's a big deal to us, because it does the recruitment and retention. You have no idea how many people move into Sayville because of our schools, and because, on the surface they look and they say, wait a minute, we get that tax break too. And we built a firehouse on Broadway. A lot of people said in the deli in the morning, they said, why would you build a $9 million firehouse? Everybody's telling us bad news that I'm fine, we're not doing this. Well, guess what? The good news is when we started that program, we had almost 70 firemen in a firehouse that was built for 25. So we got a good news story to tell you for a change. So it's down a little bit now. We lost a few, as Dr. Burke said before. We have lost a few. We can't hold the kids here. They can't afford to live in Sayville. But I just thought that you should know that this really does help us in recruitment and retention. I sat on the state board appointed by the governor for recruitment and retention. And these are the kind of things that we're trying to do to enhance people to become volunteer firemen. Some of the departments are going to the PTAs and asking PTA people to help during the day when we're short manpower. So there's a lot of things going on. I think I just had a thought while I was sitting here. If it equated down to $4,500, you guys got to stop winning all these championships, because we spend that much in fuel bringing you back into town. So, I know the athletic director was here before, but really, you're going to have to cut down on that. We probably, realistically, and we love to do that. I mean, that's what this town is about. And I want to thank the board. I think I speak for everybody that's here, that we really appreciate what you do. And just granting this is another plus for our town and our district. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to say,
I would just like to say on behalf of the West Sayville Oakdale Fire District, piggyback off of Don, it's a big help for us. we're on a big recruitment retention program over there, and every little bit helps for them. I happen to be also run the fire academy out in Yaphank, training the gentleman. I'm president of the board out there, and they've even come up with stipends to get people involved, reimbursement for the state for kids going to school. You know, if they pass a certain course, they get a stipend to help them with their studies. So it's been a big plus with everything that trying to hold everything together with all the fire departments. But personally, want to thank you from the West Sayville Oakdale Fire District.
Thank you. Okay, any other comment from the public?
What about from us?
Okay.
Start with the
No,
public, and
no,
then-
I'm just taking care of the public first. Okay. And now anybody from the board?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's obvious, I believe that we should support this. Not only just the 5-year, but the reduction to 2-year. I think that the amount of time that you put into this through training, through being on call, through obviously responding to calls is something that not only is fearless, it's courageous, and you are such a part of this community. And I think it's really important that we get good people to volunteer and retain them, because I think that once they are involved, it's really hard for them to leave. So I think that's really important. I also want to say that there's so many opportunities, even for people who don't necessarily become lifelong volunteers. My daughter is studying to be a PA right now, and she's done some hours in the Community Ambulance Corps, and some of the things you do with the juniors, training them, whether it's for the fire department or for EMTs early on, and even their high school years, I think gives us dividends in this community that are going to pay back forever. So I think this is a little token of appreciation for all the time and effort you put in.
Thank you.
Can I just add something to that? My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the president of the Community Ambulance. And
Thank you.
We have really been working on this program, and we'd like to extend it. The state has lowered the age for EMTs to 17. Our youth squad is phenomenal. You would not believe how many kids, including my daughter, she's a PA now. We'd like to work more with you guys. It's a great opportunity. It gives them experience that when they put in an application, they already have. It's much easier for them to get into a nursing school. They become radiologists. They're doing MRIs. They're doing, we do a lot more than just the ambulance.
Absolutely.
And we did submit a letter that we'd like you to take a look at
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to agree with that. My daughter kind of came to the party late as a senior in the high school already. And it's like, oh, if we had only known. So I think part of it is if we can work together to make students and parents who may either just want the volunteer experience or want to go into healthcare when they get older, even considering it, that they can start that much earlier. So I think that we should definitely work together.
If they do become an EMT, they can get a job.
Pay the bills.
But we make them become paramedics. And it's a
Great program.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been on the board only for 7 months, and part of the reason I ran for the board and wanted to be on the board was to help the district, help the community, and admittedly, the past 7 months there's been turmoil after turmoil, but this is the first time where I've felt good, where I've sat here and I felt really good, and that yeah, and I feel like this is people helping people. I feel like this is something that we can put a stamp on and put a mark on, and I'm almost glad that Connecticut hasn't reached it yet, and that we are ahead of the curve there. I think that's important. So I think this is a great opportunity and a great moment for the community. So I appreciate it and thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to say one other thing. The pandemic was rough, and one of the activities they did outside the school board was we did veteran gravestone restoration. We cleaned all the veterans' gravestones. So one of my best memories was seeing Dan Carl and all these Sayville firemen show up to be part of the effort. But the thing that really I will never forget for the rest of my life was when we were doing a parade for the pandemic. and Dan's up there with a guitar on the top of one of the trucks playing Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner. And it was like, but it was like electric for me. I felt like, you know what I mean, in our darkest hour, like that was who the fire department was, aside from saving lives all the time. But I think it just lifted us up, and I'll never forget it, ever. I miss him. I wish he was still around, but you guys are important. And I think people don't understand you're like an invisible world, though, because I've been to events and there's like 500 people there. I mean, and I think that's a credit to this community and the cultures you've created in your respective service areas. You know, this is a special town, you know, and you guys are a huge part of it. Not often recognized, not often seen, but like having been, you know, friends and stuff, it's just, I'm really grateful for the quality of people and professionals you guys are. I appreciate it.
I think can I just say one more thing quick?
First. and
Go
then
ahead, Ken.
second.
To avoid the risk of repeating what everyone has already said, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Thank you. This is a no-brainer. And my daughter was on 2 of those teams that won the championship, and we loved the parade. They're going to keep trying. We loved it, and thank you.
I also think it's important to point out, Rhonda, and you know, this is a full community decision, and it does impact however small the impact may be. And she did do her due diligence, and she did bring that to us. And I think that's important too, to point her out that as well is a thankless job, because it's so hard for her to do something like that, where it may be viewed as negative, but it is an important part of her job. And I thought she did that well, and she presented it well to us. I would have voted for it either way, it was a no-brainer for everybody on the board. But I do think it's important to point that out, that she was very thorough, and I wanted to thank you for that as well, Rhonda.
Well, thank you. In my prior life, I was an auditor for a lot of municipalities. Fire districts can be either part of a village or a town or a standalone. And I know firsthand about that recruitment and retainment and LoSAPs and things like that. So I knew the importance of that, but I did want to make sure that everyone had the right information. So, and I thank you for all your cooperation too. So.
Sure.
So I don't know if everyone knows about your junior program that you have at the fire department, but having taught in the high school for so long, the kids who were fortunate to be part of that was such a confidence builder for them. And I thank you for that being there for them.
I think we have 21 right now, you have 20. Something like
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
wonderful.
That's
They
great.
have a racing team for the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
students, so our Sayville guys go over there and race, and then they want to come back.
Thank you.
Your junior, West Sayville juniors, I mean, the department, West Sayville is about 150 years old, 130 or something. Juniors are almost as old. It's something. I wrote an article in some kind of newspaper to juniors, because I didn't know about it.
The department was formed in 1891, the junior was 1891.
Wow.
I also want to say thank you. Just say thank you. I remember way back where we used to have breakfast at the fire department with the football team that we have championships for. So thank you. Oh, hey. This year we did.
I'm sure most of you know that. All your sports teams use firehouse.
Yes. But I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, and a lot of other districts don't have that courtesy, let's say.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Okay. So I guess we're all in agreement to reducing it down to 2 years. So that'll be the change that we make to the
And then I guess we would just conclude with the resolution.
yeah. So I'll do a motion and approval. It says roll call, so I'll go around the table. So a resolution for the Sayville School District to grant a tax exemption to eligible volunteer firefighters as provided for by the real property tax law, and a roll call vote is required. So I'll just go around the table. James?
Aye.
Wait, first I have to do a motion. No, first I have to do a motion. I need a motion for item 301.
Motion.
Kelly and Maureen. Discussion? We did that already?
I just want to clarify, the motion is after 2 years?
It's
Did it say
Two-
that in the motion? I'm
Yes.
not sure it did. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's blank. We verbally talk about it and we're saying 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so now, James,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kelly, Desmond,
Yes.
Yes.
Christine, and then Maureen, and then myself, it's unanimous. We changed the legislation to a 2-year requirement. And in closing, I just want to say thank you to all of you. And also the situation for the families in California. I mean, it's pretty terrible what's happening to them. And I wish everybody to be safe.
Yep.
Thank you. So, yes, so I need a motion to adjourn the hearing. Second, all those in favor? Okay, the hearing is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sal? For some reason, it's not showing on the screen now. It's showing the desktop instead of the. It's actually a different mode or something. Yeah, please do.
Yes. Should I'll put this as received in correspondence.
Yeah, Julie will
Yeah.
pass it to Julie in the correspondence and say this is the petition for.
Yeah. Okay.
Zero.
Okay,
I like Penn State too.
so now we're back in a regular meeting. And I'll make, we'll just change the agenda, so, because you said you had a question about the senior exemption, so you can bring that question.
I do. Actually, I just have a page. I'm just going to read it out if you
Sure.
don't mind. So this proposal is related to the senior citizen and disabled persons exemption. It's similar to the fire department exemption. Low-income seniors and people with disabilities receive an exemption currently from the school district. The salary cap is currently limited at a salary of 27,000 or lower. So if you earn 27,000 or lower, you are entitled to this 50% exemption, and then it increases in. I can't find my words. So basically, what I'm asking is that the Board of Ed adopt an increase to the maximum income eligibility limit and scale for senior citizens and disabled persons as allowed under the 2022 New York State legislation. So 2022, they increased it and they allowed the schools locally to decide if they wanted to increase that limit. And they've allowed the schools, if they would like, to go up to $50,000 with a sliding scale exemption up to $58,000. That's not a lot of money for people to live on around here. In addition, they also allowed that the school, I don't want to get too complicated, but the legislation allowed 3 options for the school district to adopt. And last year, you had a resolution that allowed you to include IRA distributions in the calculations of income, which I understand. Pensions are included, so now IRA distributions are included as well. They also allowed 2 other options that you did not adopt, and I'm going to ask if you can consider adopting those also. One would, option 1, any Social Security benefits not included in federal gross income can not be considered income as well. And it also would allow for seniors that have medical or prescription costs that are not reimbursed to be discounted from income. So basically, there's a lot of technical things. I'm going to read my first part first. My mom lives in Sayville. So my parents moved to Sayville in 1978, 46 years ago. My brother and I grew up here. We went to school here. We graduated here a long time ago. They've always loved being a part of this community. And we understand the importance of a solid education. We appreciate the value of good schools. And we imagine that if we would add up all the property taxes that my parents have paid through the years being here, it's probably at least $500,000 over their lifetime of living here. They've clearly done their part to support the district. My father was a veteran, and he was a hard worker after his service. He had a massive stroke when he was 54 years old, and he became disabled and unable to work after that for the next 21 years until he passed away. After my father's stroke, my mom was the sole breadwinner and the caregiver for our family. She's now 77 years old and has Parkinson's, and she lives alone in our childhood house. I imagine most people in the district who've driven on Ort Court would know my mom. She's the one out there raking her lawn. She's like, people probably know who she is. As she races, she takes care of, she's very proud of her house, but she's in a very fixed income. And Social Security is not enough to pay her bills. Ironically, with the board resolution that includes the IRA distributions at this point, she really just takes distributions from her limited IRA to pay for her school property taxes and her medical bills. She can't use those to offset her income because the board hasn't adopted those other resolutions. So my mom's taxes this year went up because of that option that included the IRA and didn't allow her to reduce her for medical expenses. Her taxes have gone up $6,000. They went up from $6,800 to $12,600 because of these nuances in the law. So I'm really just asking that the board consider raising the limit, like the town of Islip has, from $27,000 to $50,000 as the maximum income you can make to receive this. And also consider allowing people in the community to reduce their income by medical and unreimbursable expenses, and the small nuance of the Social Security. So I have support for the law and the regulations.
If you want to bring anything you have.
I'll just say that it's been a topic, since the fall, because last year we had to make a decision, but the town was unable to give us any information, real numbers. So our goal was to try and maintain a stable effect for the district, because what obviously happens is if we give tax credits to one community, then the rest have to bear that. And we didn't want to have a major change. So this year now we're getting real numbers, and then before March, right? We said March.
Before March 1, in order to have that affected similarly to the volunteer ambulance and firefighter, it would have to be another public hearing prior to March 1, 2025.
So we're going to have another public hearing, and then we'll evaluate, what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did call the town today as well to see if she had any numbers, to see what the impact was. And she said that she could send you some information. She wasn't able to give me the information. So.
Right. Last year, we were, as the board was considering, they didn't have any of those numbers because of the change. So we were told we would have the numbers, just like we did with the firefighters. We could put up how much it costs everyone else who doesn't get exempted, so that the board can make an informed decision. And they're looking seriously to evaluate this. Rhonda did speak to about 4 or 5 other members of the community, similar but different situations. And it is a shock to the system when that change occurs. And so we empathize with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for people on a limited income.
Okay.
I want to kind of just make a comment. I'm very impressed with the level of specificity and how clear you made this. It's pretty complicated stuff. I don't know if you're an accountant or not, but you are.
In my past life, yes.
And I think for me, if I was in your shoes, I would be kind of curious, like, why wouldn't the district pass a resolution like that? And Tom, thanks for clarifying, because we needed more information to even discuss it, and they just didn't provide it.
I understand that when you reduce somebody's taxes, that somebody else has to bear the burden. I'm just saying that my parents have lived here for 50 years, and I think they've supported the schools, and I'm asking for that kind of.
It was
return.
never our intention for that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's
didn't-
why we were trying,
Yeah.
working with the town, and that's, that's where we came up with that approach.
We didn't decline it. We just,
Yeah.
we want all the information
Yeah.
to even talk about it. I grew up around the corner from you, by the way.
Okay.
Loop in Potomac.
There you go.
So is this something that will be brought up before
Yes,
March?
but
And we'll,
before March, we're going to
Okay.
take.
Okay, so
All
it'll
right.
be on a March.
Yeah.
meet-
We'll put out
Agenda.
It's going to be before March, so sometime in
before
February.
March 1st, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, and so then, and Rhonda has every,
Not
By that
yet,
time, we'll have
she's
everything
still
she
getting
needs.
that information.
She's gathering the information from the town.
Yes, and I'll share that with the board, and we had multiple conversations
Yes.
too prior to
Yes,
this
thank you
evening.
for your
but,
help, too.
Yeah.
yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Have you reached out to Rhonda
I
so that
have.
she
She's
can?
been great.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's awesome. All right.
This lady's prepared.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing with us
Yeah,
everything.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So the first item on our agenda is correspondence. We had 5 letters regarding armed guards and 1 email regarding the fireman exemption.
And we
And
just received that letter from community.
Yeah, and then
Ambulance.
also from the community ambulance, we have a letter as well. So I'll pass that around. And then on Tuesday, we received a survey from, petition from community members regarding the petition for armed guards.
Armed perimeter.
So you can give it to Julie or pass it around. Okay. Next item is superintendent's report. I'll hand over to Dr. Ferris.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience as we go through a series of different presentations, and we have a great lineup for tonight. Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome back. We're looking forward to hopefully a great, productive year of caring and learning for our students and our staff and our community. A couple of just updates. Tonight, the board is going to be voting whether or not you want to accept or decline the STA contract. I just want to take a moment to thank the STA Executive Board and the members of the STA who, before the break, ratified their contract. It has some really, I think, powerful and important things in it, not only in terms of compensation, but also in terms of things for students and things for learning. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of those because I think it's not often that you see this many things in a contract in addition to the compensation package for students. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. So it's fair compensation for our teachers, but also built in with a CPI sliding scale so that it can help us to stay under a tax cap, depending on what that tax cap is. It fixes language related to observations and evaluation of staff, so we can be more focused on supporting teachers in growth as opposed to just evaluating. It has additional prep time for K-5 teachers, something that we want because we know when teachers have time to collaborate with each other, they produce greater things for kids. So we added that. We had flexibility for grade level meetings in the elementary schools so that more grade level meetings can happen at different times and administrators and support people can get to those meetings because they can be coordinated at different times. We have team meeting periods at the middle school now. They have teams in the middle school, but they didn't have a formal way to meet. So now we have every other day team meetings for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers who teach math, science, English, and social studies. We also have team leader opportunities for teachers in the middle school where teacher leaders can be appointed by the principal and can coordinate and facilitate team meetings. And it gives more teachers opportunities to lead. And we believe in teacher leadership in this district because the more teachers that have opportunity and voice to lead, they're on the ground working with the students, the better opportunities things can be for kids. It has improved advisory programming for the middle school. So there's more time for advisory, and we'll have summer curriculum work to kind of develop and continue our STRIDES program, anti-bullying, and important things that the middle level students need to participate in to enhance their character education programs. It cleans up language for department chair people so that the workload is clear and the expectations are clearly defined. And I think that's going to help again with teacher leadership, which leads to better organization throughout the middle school and high school. It clearly articulates guidance counselor work years so they can support students and families both in the summer and in the school year. It modernizes our approach to chaperone pay so that we can pay chaperones for chaperoning. We have a curriculum rate now for curriculum writing, and we have a teacher training rate in the summer so that we can do summer academies without having to negotiate every single time what the rate's going to be, which I know Anthony will appreciate. Because we believe in learning, and we don't not only believe in learning for our students, but we believe in learning for our teachers. So there have to be opportunities and methods to do this. So it sounds like a contract should just be about funding, but it's really also about structures so that we can do the things we're meant to do, which is design curriculum, train, and prepare for school in September. What else? I broke my glasses, so I don't have that. It improves the ability of the district to hire and maintain quality nurses by modernizing the nurse schedule. We were having a lot of trouble hiring nurses because hospitals were having much higher rates after COVID. So we kind of adjusted that. We also modernized our rates for the driver's education program so that we could continue to maintain. We have some really great high school driver's ed teachers, and the salaries at other places were almost double. So we're trying to kind of fix that issue. It enhances the quality and support for teachers will get in terms of a mentoring program. So we're really creating a mentoring guidebook, creating mentor training, and compensating teachers fairly for supporting new teachers into the district. And that's an important process for our new teachers. And it enhances the new teacher program. Not only are we going to have new teacher training in the summer, but monthly new teacher trainings throughout the school year so that all new teachers can be provided. As we design new programming, new teachers need to be able to not just be thrown into the school and say, go. They need training in the programs, the methodologies, or the structures that we have in place for our students. So this is a contract that fairly compensates, but also kind of raises the bar in terms of what we can provide in terms of training, support, and learning for students. So I'm really proud of this, and I think the STA is really proud of this, and I'm strongly recommending that the board vote in favor of this contract tonight. So thank you for that. And let's give a hand to the teachers who participated. We're also going to talk about the security forum we had on Tuesday. We've been gathering the data. It was, I thought, a very successful evening. I thought we got some really great feedback in many areas, not just in the concept of armed perimeter guards, which we have a lot of good feedback on, but also ways we can enhance security in all aspects of the district. And we're very serious about enhancing everything we have, from that concept to all concepts. So I think, and we'll share a little bit about that in a moment. Rhonda's just going to do an overview of the budget planning process. The state is poised to announce their state aid runs next week. This is going to be significantly important, not only for our educational programs, but for any discussions about enhancing security, because we're looking to see what kind of funding we're just hoping to maintain. We just want to have the safe, harmless stay in place. There's mixed comments about that. There was a Rockefeller report that came out in November that suggested that they take away state aid from districts like ours and end safe, harmless over a 3 to 5 year period. The governor has said that they may do that, or they may not have had enough time to digest that, and so they might keep things in place. So we really need to hear from the governor next week, and that's going to significantly impact what we do in terms of how we plan for the future. I want to emphasize that we always are going to be fiscally responsible and look to do the best we can with the least amount possible so that we can be mindful of taxpayer dollars, but we also want to make sure that we have good programs that support our students and safety and security that keep them safe in our schools. So we have to balance that through the process. We're looking to keep costs down as much as possible, though. I want to emphasize that regardless of what the tax cap is, regardless of what aid we get or don't get. And Rhonda has worked diligently last year when this first happened to try to protect us should something happen with cuts in the future as best as possible. But we just don't know until we get the numbers. So we're looking forward to that. And then we have tonight, I'm really excited about, we talked about smiles and good feelings. We talk a lot about difficult things here, but the nice presentation that we're going to get from the high school principal, Ms. Bricker, on the things happening at the high school, the work that's being done, all the things that you guys do as a board, all the decisions you make, all the funding that you provide, all of the votes that you have really come down to, though, are we providing good programs for our students? And so what you're going to see is some of the work that the high school has been doing that we're really proud of as a result of the financing and of the decisions that you guys are making.
I just want to jump in about the hold homeless,
Yeah.
safe homeless. The Rockefeller report comes out. They recommend removing it. The governor says she's going to remove it. The latest I read in the state school boards magazine was that she's walked that back and said she's not going to remove it.
Yeah, so
So
there's nothing been official.
nothing's official.
But she said that there wasn't enough time to digest the whole
Right,
report.
but she's leaning towards not removing it.
But
That's
that doesn't mean that she won't do it in the following year.
correct. But this is the big issue.
Right, and we just, next week we'll know, so then we can plan accordingly.
Can we comment on any of the things?
Yeah,
The
well, I'm
SDA?
going to do a little brief
Yeah.
report on each. Okay.
Gotcha.
So starting with, but before we do that, I just want to do two items that I think are worth noting from around the district. Students in Mr. Cross's graphic design and discovery class utilized Adobe Illustrator to create unique designs, which were then laser cut onto repurposed wood from Mr. Vogel's material processing class at Sayville High School. The new STEAM program projects embody STEAM principles by integrating science, material science, wood characteristics, properties of different wood types, technology, digital design software, engineering, laser cutting and problem solving, art, graphic design, mathematics, precise measurements and scaling of designs, and sustainable materials processing from multiple disciplines. The collaborative project showcases interdisciplinary learning, combining digital design skills with sustainable materials recycling. And it's just an example of when you create a program like this, you can really integrate coursework from all courses to create products, and kids see authentic uses for the things that they're learning. So I just wanted to highlight that was something that just had happened recently in that program. I also want to take a moment to honor all of our law enforcement officers. Today is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and I want to just thank them for their service. In each of our schools, we do different things. This is a pictures of Cherry, where the police officers came to the school. I'll just read a little bit about that. Earlier today, students at Cherry Avenue presented officers from the 5th Precinct along with the district security guards with letters of gratitude for their service. Activities like this actually happen at Lincoln and at Sunrise as well. I just have the pictures from Cherry, but it happened in all 3 elementaries, and activities are planned throughout the district during this month to honor and celebrate our law enforcement. In terms of the community forum, just a couple of statistics on security. We had 144 parents sign up. It was the brutally cold, windy night. We had 61 that did not show up of the 144, but we did have 17 walk-ins, so we had about 90 plus people total. So I thought it was a good crowd for a freezing cold night. They came into the auditorium. We did a presentation on just what we currently have in terms of security. We heard also from the 5th Precinct in terms of how they respond and how they train for active shooter situations, which I thought was important for people to hear. And then we talked about our mental health support for students, because we do an unbelievably wide range of supports for students in K through 12. And I wanted parents to just be aware of it and have a level playing field when discussing security when they got into their small groups. We then broke into small groups of about 8 was the plan, but with a little less numbers, it was nicer. It was actually like 6 to 5 in each group. There were varying opinions. There were 4 basic questions. One was, what do you think we do well with security that you want to definitely make sure we maintain? We had a lot of good conversation and note-taking about that. What do we need to do to enhance our security that is not related to arming guards? And we had a lot of good discussions about those kind of items, whether it was doors or windows or perimeter or other kind of ideas that people had. We had teachers from other districts who live in the district sharing information. We had former police officers who live in the district. We had security guards from other districts. So we had a wide range of experiences. Detectives from the Nassau County Police Department, just who live in the community, just a lot of people with a lot of different experiences sharing ideas and thoughts. And as people were leaving, parent after the next just thanked me for saying that they felt like they had a good experience sharing conversation with people in a respectful manner, which I really appreciated, the way that people were respectful of each other's differing opinions and also learning from each other about different ideas and things that they might not have thought of. And that was the whole point. So after that, Amy DeMiola, our Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, spent every waking moment from the moment the thing ended collecting the sheets and forms from the facilitators. And I also want to thank the administrators, board members, and teachers who volunteered to facilitate those tables. Every single administrator, 10 teacher volunteers, the STA, and the entire board was working on that, and I want to thank them for that. But Amy has been working with a BOCES data person to crunch the numbers, not only the hard numbers of how many were in favor of armed guards and how many were not, but also the suggestions. And we're kind of coding each question, and we're color coding categories, and you're going to have the amount of hits for each area. And, like doors and windows are like, through the roof in terms of commentary. And we got to talk about that. So we want to talk about getting a security assessment. We want to talk about working with security firms to kind of look at all of the areas. But in addition, we have to have, as a Board of Education, a discussion about armed perimeter guards, because as you'll see when I get the report done for you, there was a large majority of the group that was present at that meeting that was in favor of that initiative. Additionally, I spoke to the president of the union this morning and the president of the security guards this morning to say that now that we've heard from parents, we really want to get a sense of how our staff feels and how our security guards feel and what their thoughts are. So we're going to talk about ways to collect information very quickly in the next week from them, because I want to combine the parent-focused feedback with staff and our security team. Our security team is awesome. They are all retired police officers. They know the kids. They care deeply about the community, and they have ideas too. And we want to make sure we collect those ideas as well, and then present that to you as we kind of come up with a plan for how we want to move forward. I think we have a really good security program, but I think that it can always be better and enhanced. And we have to consider, the time we live in, the environment we live in. Sayville is an amazing community, and it's not a Sayville thing. It's a Long Island thing. It's a national thing. It's a unbelievably different world we lived in than we did when I was at first appointed as a teacher. We were told, if you don't keep your door open, we're going to take the door off the hinges because we want an open environment here. And now we're telling teachers the exact opposite, which is your doors have to be closed and locked. And, and we have a swipe system to get into them, and the lockdowns lock it. It's a different feeling. So we have to figure out, how do we maintain a caring, warm environment and also make sure that our kids are safe? And so that's really the goal. And then we're going to make decisions that are actionable, that improve and enhance the work that we do with our students, because if they feel safe and comfortable and our families feel safe and comfortable, they're more open and able to be learning, which is obviously the reason we're here in the first place. So that's where we are with it, and I'll just take questions from the board on that aspect of that night and or comments.
I mean, as far as the forum, I have to say, it was a nice experience to be able to, sit with a handful of people and have an open conversation about the topic. I mean, everybody was respectful, and a lot of good things were talked about. I mean, obviously, number one, security is just not about armed guards. It's obviously it's more than just the guards. It's the whole infrastructure and training and things like that. But there was a lot of good conversation, I have to say. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the forum. I had a very small group: Amanda, Brian, and Gary. But like Tom said, it was very productive. It was professional. It was civilized. It was respectful. I really wanted to mention that although my group was all of the same opinion on this topic, they even went so far as to fathom why the other side might have their opinion, which I thought was very fair. And we actually spoke quite a bit about that. So I did appreciate that. I loved that. If we have to make more decisions, I'd like that setting, because it was nice to hear everyone's feedback. And my question just is, do you anticipate when that report will be coming out?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get a copy of it for you by Thursday of next week. And I'd like to include staff feedback as well. So I'm working with Anthony and the security team to kind of do that. But I could give you raw data now. Yeah, you're going to get to read it first, and then once you're ready, we will release it. And that's the thing. I could give the raw data, but we want to really put it together in a way that it's easy to read, because there's thousands of comments, and we want to categorize them, sort them into these are the things about windows, all the comments. These are the things about doors, all the comments. These are the things. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about just how you're working that through? Because I think it's pretty
I can
cool.
imagine it's similar to the district-wide goals, right?
Yeah.
You have all this language, comments and everything, but you have to be able to.
Yeah, it's mostly qualitative.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because there is discussion based. We're able to structure it because there were 5 pointed questions that every facilitator read, and I think it's also worth mentioning that
the facilitators all came together and trained to deliver the same exact experience for everyone. Every table had a statement read where there was an assurance that the facilitator's job was to remain neutral and not to sway anyone, and that they are simply here to read the questions, to encourage a healthy environment for a conversation, to take the best notes that they possibly can, so that they could be provided to the board, and the board can make the decision that includes the most voices possible. So in the spirit of that, our BOCE shared data expert and I have been Jerry as well, Doherty, very methodically going through coding, theming, trying to capture the essence of every statement that was captured, so that we can make categories that are broad enough so that there aren't a million categories, but narrow enough so that the nuance doesn't get lost. And especially trying to capture direct quotes or phrases that really spotlight like a poignant statement that's worth putting into a spotlight. So anyway, that's something that we're going to continue working on, and hopefully deliver to something to you that's easy to consume.
So if I may, I think the night showed something that Sayville does very well. Parents came together with teachers, with administrators, with the board, and we're all working together to figure out what's best.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with the way it kind of gelled. And I think it was similar to how we did the 100-day study, right? Where we asked people what they think about the schools and what we want for our kids, but this is more focused. So I think that approach, when you're making important decisions, I think will yield good decision-making, because it represents the community's feelings and takes into account multiple factors.
I felt like my group was excellent. I was incredibly impressed. There was a diversity of opinions. There wasn't a clear consensus, very leaning one way though. But I think for me, it was like Dr. Foy and I actually facilitated one of the groups, and we took notes. Like, our job wasn't to share our opinions. It was just funny, because many years ago I had said to Dr. Foy, I said, one of the things that I find extremely frustrating is, before Dr. Ferris was here, about us on the leadership level, was that we're not inclusive enough. Like that it's things are going great. Everybody's happy. Our kids are winning championships. We're getting into the right colleges. Our kids feel loved, which is important, but we're not asking people their point of view. We're not asking them to contribute to the discussion. That was, for me, a very significant source of frustration. And I felt like that burden was lifted, because I felt like people really spoke, and they told you what they thought, and they listened to each other. And they said, I feel strongly this way, and it's different than you do, but I've been listening to my friends. I've been listening to my neighbors. Like, that's real democracy. You know what I mean? I think we don't have those opportunities a lot. And I just was really, I think that speaks to your confidence as a leader. And I think I was really just, thank you for letting the community have a voice. We're representatives, but we're representatives. I think it was just, I was really proud of us, of who we are as a team and as a district that night.
Anyone else?
I enjoyed it. I thought the way the groups were made was important.
Yeah.
Because I had I guess a larger group, 6 or 7 people, extremely intelligent, extremely open-minded individuals who each had kids at different levels. So you had some who had kids on the kindergarten level, like I do, and then you had some high school, some from Sunrise, some from Lincoln, some from Cherry, and it just brought different perspectives. And there were things that I had never thought about that they brought to my attention. There were things, like one of the big things that I thought came out of it is, especially at the elementary level, that at sometimes the elementary levels, there's no continuity between the 3 elementary levels. So I see Sunrise, and I think that's what's done at Lincoln and Cherry, and they see something at Cherry, and they assume that that must be being done at Lincoln and Sunrise, and in fact, it's not. So they're bringing these things to my attention, and I'm like, wow, I do the same thing as you do. I drop my kid off at Scope, but I don't have that experience. My experience is different. So I thought that's one thing that I can bring back to this table that we can do better to try to keep the continuity between the schools so that there isn't that, discontent between the schools. So that was my big takeaway from it that I learned. And I thank everyone in my group for that. My group was awesome. Our facilitator, Mr. Ganti, was great. So I thought it was a positive night.
Thank you.
I can't agree more. I think it was a really, really positive event. And I will say my group, I had people sit down and came to talk about one issue, one very small issue, and they had a feeling one way or the other. But as the conversation evolved, the topic sort of broadened and it became bigger than just armed guards or no armed guards, but just safety. And I think the more they spoke, the more questions came. So I look forward to seeing the data, because just like Desmond saying about how it was different at every elementary school, it was different at every table depending on who was there. So I want to see what was being said at every table. And I know that at my table, one parent at the end even said that I was hoping there would be someone had a strong opposition to challenge what I'm thinking, because I really want to think about it bigger. And I thought that was a really like insightful thing to say. So I look forward to seeing the data. And I left there, and I think the table that I was with, and I was with Diane Watson, who was amazing, kind of came with thoughts and left with questions. And I think that was a good thing. So I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Yeah, and
Okay. I just want to say, I was sorry I couldn't make it. As you can hear, I have some issues going on here. Nothing serious, but I heard it was very productive. I got a few phone calls, and hopefully we'll have another one, and I'll make the next one. Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
Okay. All right. So the plan again is to get you the data as soon as possible so that we can continue to discuss actionable steps to take. At hopefully the next January 23rd, I believe, meeting would be our next meeting. So we'll make that a topic of discussion for the board with that data for you. Okay. We're going to.
I can say one more thing.
Yeah.
I think it's important to thank, and I don't know everybody by name, but I think it's the community members who won't drop this is important. I think that's a big deal, because a lot of times things like this occur because an incident occurs and it's spurred by an incident, and then it's a hot topic, and then it slowly fades away unless people continue to bring it to the forefront. So I think the people in the community who are consistently doing that, they need some thanks and some recognition as well, because it is important that, if you feel strongly about something and you believe in it, it shouldn't be, it's always reactionary in this country. Like something happens and we're all fired up about it, and for a short period of time, and then it fades and fades and fades. So while I applaud you as well for being like a forward thinker with this, in my opinion, I applaud the people in the community as well that are pushing it and make sure that the agenda stays at the front. So I just wanted to say that.
I just want to say, I know my voice is terrible. I just want to say, I agree with you. I like being forward thinking and looking at the whole picture, not just one incident. You have to look at everything, and not only what's staring you. You have to really look at what's beneficial for all of our students. So, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And I also want to say, I think that we model for our kids what we want them to be able to do. And I think that was a good example of good collaborative discussion. If we model screaming at each other and assuming worse intentions and using Facebook to bully each other, then we're going to be sending that message to our kids. And if we model hey, let's talk to each other, let's look at each other, I think there's some perception that the board sits up here and doesn't care. But when you're sitting at a table talking to each other, you get to see the human being that's there, and you realize, of course, they care, because they're parents, they're grandparents, they're educators in the community as well. So I think it's important to have moments like that, whether it's this issue or future issues, where we get to the table with our citizens so that they can see the real people behind this kind of bench, so to speak. So I just want to thank you guys for going on the journey. And I think it's not complete. We've got steps to take, but I think we're on our way. So thank you. Okay, moving along, I'm just going to have Rhonda review just the budget priorities and the kind of plan for going forward with the budget. And then we're going to go into a really amazing presentation about the high school programming. I want to say we keep mentioning championships, and we are absolutely the best district in terms of our sports programs. But we are also the best district that I can imagine in terms of our music programs, our art programs, and our academics. And you're going to see that from our high school principal in about 7 minutes and 38 seconds.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. No. So this was shared at the last board meeting, but again, the very first budget presentation, that official budget presentation that will take place will be on February 13th, our tax cap. And we will have at that point all of the necessary components of that calculation to share. It is our desire to remain within the New York State tax cap calculation with at this point, too, the passage of about 6 months of our fiscal year, we start looking at the projected fund balance and where we anticipate landing with that by the end of the year. And coupled with that, we also look at our fund balance reserves and the appropriate and strategic use of those in terms of how we will apply them to the 2025-26 budget. Like the tax cap, it is also our desire to preserve our programs and staffing. But with that said, we also look to some of our educational programs and where we would like to enhance those. So on that list of budget priorities is enhancing security, reading, math, science, and world language. A very large cost and a component of our students' day is the transportation to and from school and our athletic programs. We are in the midst of an RFP that will be posted in the paper shortly. We are at the 5-year mark within the 24-25 year for the continuation of that contract. We will have the results of that RFP and recommendation I anticipate in March, which is in time for that to be a part of our 25-26 budget. So we look to derive the best cost for that, and we're, getting that RFP out. Also, improving health and safety. That is always something that is on our minds in terms of whether it be additional cameras or other things, and we continually look at that. Those initiatives and where we need to improve. And likewise, our infrastructure. If we don't maintain our buildings and grounds, it costs more in the long run. So we look to make sure that we're keeping up with all of that as well as part of our budget.
And I just want to compliment Rhonda, who is our business and personnel superintendent. It's not an easy thing to maintain programs and also build programs in the era of the 2% tax cap. And I think we want to be fiscally responsible and keep our costs down, but also make sure the kids get what their parents want them to get and know they deserve. So it's a fine line to maintain things and also enhance while also keeping costs down. And you do that very well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's not same as last year, but if it's working, continue with it. But if it's not, what are the other alternatives? So
Right.
I think every budget developer comes to the table with that mindset. And we have gone through that process already with all of our department heads. So now we're just really, our big thing is waiting for what is the executive budget going to yield for Sayville. So,
And we try to maintain 0 increases in almost every code just to maintain. Then we look at areas like world language where we feel like we have to enhance to get that program or something else. But we try to stay at 0 in every area. But then we also then get the budget from the governor, and that then we might have to go less than 0 in some codes so that we can go over, +5 in another code. So it's a balancing act, and it requires a lot of precision. And we do the best that we can while staying under those terms.
yeah. So in the next slide here, this is our budget development calendar, and it needs to, I guess, be followed. There are a lot of required timelines within the budget process, but I also have at the bottom where we may have to amend when the Board of Ed adopts the budget, because in some years we don't have the final legislative budget, and we can't make those hard decisions until we have all of that information. And we've had to maybe alter a date or two as we get towards the end. But this is pretty much the guideline of where we're following, where things have to be posted, and where they take place.
So for example, we had a plan to adopt the budget on April 1st last year. The governor took away $3.4 million in funding. We had a plan to deal with that. And then on April 17th, she undid which was wonderful because we got the funding back, but then we had to adjust the timeline so that we were a little later than we normally were. So, we have a plan and then we adjust as we need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that might be it.
Any questions about the budget planning? And we're going to have a full presentation, in February, March, with each step of the way and each stage of the budget process as we go.
Did the Rockefeller report, I didn't see it, but I also didn't read the entire thing. Did the Rockefeller report touch on reserves at all?
Yes.
Did it talk about potentially increasing the reserves? Because
No.
cutting.
They hate it.
So what they basically
What
said was that they want to reduce reserves.
I saw the article in Newsday where they talked about districts that are well over the
Right.
reserves, and obviously, like we weren't one of those. But I know that NISBA is huge in the fact that the state municipalities reserves is 10%.
Yeah. So,
But yet they don't allow us to be anywhere close to that, which is to me is insane.
yeah. So what the Rockefeller report said was any district that had a decent amount of reserves, they should take. They're recommending less funding and then use your reserves to replace that funding.
Keeping that 4% level.
Right, keeping the 4%.
I mean, and this is long-standing. When you have reserves, you have more independence.
Correct.
And the state doesn't want you to be independent. They don't want you to be able to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So it's been, I don't know, 20 years that they've been attacking them. That was the genesis of the tax cap, which has actually been, I get it, and it's helped, but not nuanced.
Well, one of the funniest comments in her budget presentation last year when the governor made the presentation, which I almost laughed out loud and spit out my coffee, was she pronounced that she has the gold standard for her reserves in New York State. They have 10%, which was like $2 billion. And then in the next sentence said school districts have too much. They should have less than 4%. So it was how do you tout that you have 10% and $2 billion in reserves, yet school districts, who have 4% should have less. And reserves are not for just like doing fun things. Therefore, your boiler falls apart and you need $800,000. So good, we don't have to take it out of a budget and add money to taxpayers. We have money to pay for a damaged boiler, or a capital reserve, which I think is a very good way to enhance a science lab or a music wing or a theater program without adding tax burden to the taxpayers or taking out a large bond. But the less you have in reserves, to your point, the less flexibility you have to do things, and then you have to do everything in a budget. And that leads to increase in taxes and then reduction in programs when you can't meet the tax cap.
And also, just you need stability in your funding.
Yes.
Like, you have a wild swing in fuel costs and building construction costs. You don't want to be a distressed district, which is what you would be if you don't have a capital reserve fund.
Years ago, if you look at the amount of funding we received many years ago, percentage-wise, it was much, much more than it is today. And our mandates are more today than they were years ago. So even though inflation and everything has gone up, the amount of money they're giving us to survive is less, and the mandates are more. They don't look at the educational program, and I'm very much for our language programs, because whether people like it or not, we are a global society. That's very important. Is that mandated? Absolutely not. So that's something that we have to fund, because that's beneficial for our students. And that's what we have to look at. What is beneficial for our students? It's annoying to me. It's very annoying. And this I don't want to go into the political.
Yes. Yeah. And I just want to say the idea that the governor is telling districts, not ours, because we are below, but that are above that 4%. The way the tax cap works is that if you depend on money from your reserves, when you go back in the following year, that tax cap is limited. So your ability to work within the cap is much more difficult. And the chances of overriding a cap have not been extremely successful. And there has been a flippancy, I want to say, among some elected officials that, oh, well, they could just pierce the cap. And that is decimating, and districts that have to go on austerity is just decimating. And two things that the governor has done in terms of unfunded mandates, which sound wonderful. There's finally a bill that was just approved about the temperatures in the classroom, and if it gets too hot, you have to provide an air-conditioned space or a cooler space. That's wonderful, but not every kid can go into the limited number of air-conditioned spaces that most districts and schools have. We don't have central air throughout our districts. Well, that's the question. And it doesn't have to be air-conditioned, it just has to be cooler. But and then there is, I believe tomorrow, a big announcement coming about lunches and students. And I don't know the details about that yet, but that's coming. So those are things that are important, and they sound like, of course, I hear that a lot. Of course, we pay a lot. Of course, we should get those things, but those things all have a price tag that are within a limited budget. So, and I hope for you, Rhonda, for your sake, you do not have to do Budget Olympics again this year, because it was absolutely, I don't know how many budgets you put together. It was unbelievable. Yes, it was creative. It was unbelievable. But I hope we're not starting from a nuclear fallout again. That we actually start in a good spot.
Okay, great. So I just have two other quick announcements. This is a poster just on the our universal kindergarten program and pre-K program. UPK registration is now open. Please visit the Sayville Schools webpage to download the UPK flyer and all necessary paperwork to be completed. If you have any questions at all about our kindergarten program, please reach out to Ms. Macris in the PPS office at 631-244-6505. Also, and finally, next Thursday, January 16th at the Sayville Middle School Auditorium from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., there will be a representative from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention giving a presentation for parents on suicide prevention. We are hosting this night in partnership with the Bayport Blue Point School District. This presentation will be in person. However, for those who are unable to make it, there will be an opportunity to watch via live stream. Please refer to the email from Ms. Macris for details. And again, this is a really important workshop that will help arm parents with noticing signs of not just for suicide, but depression or anxiety, and being alert to what you can do to help your children. And I want to just thank the PPS department, Ms. Macris, for collaborating with the Bayport Blue Point School District to kind of bring this together for our parents. An important topic. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our high school principal, Ms. Stephanie Bricker, who's going to talk about our high school program.
My table from today, the back row, exceptional bylaws, our conversation forward. Okay.
There's always competition.
We were good, right? Exceptional maybe. Some might say. Okay, all right. Well, thank you everyone for your patience. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So good evening. I'm Stephanie Bricker. I'm the principal at Sayville High School. And I'd like to thank the Board of Education and the Cabinet for the opportunity to share important information about the high school program and our upcoming program of studies. This is interesting. Okay. It's a little high. All right. So here we go. Okay. We are excited to present an updated and comprehensive curriculum that supports all disciplines and prepares our students for a successful academic experience. Our program has been carefully designed to ensure each student has access to a well-rounded and enriching educational experience. It is the result of a collaborative process involving teachers, school counselors, department chairs, and building leadership, starting with discussions early in the fall. And I just want to draw your attention to two graphics that you can see on the screen. Here is our core logo, really, which are our underlying building pillars. And this is the cover of our upcoming program of studies, and I'm going to address both this evening. I'd like to start by saying we are a committed learning community, and we believe in the core values of connection, ownership, resilience, and exploration. These core values represent the common priorities guiding our high school programming. Connection emphasizes the importance of building relationships, meaningful relationships with peers and mentors, fostering collaboration and mutual support. Ownership is about empowering students to take charge of their own learning and their personal growth. Resilience speaks to helping students develop the strength to face challenges, adapt to change, and persevere through obstacles. And exploration encourages curiosity and innovation, inspiring students to explore new perspectives and opportunities across multiple fields of learning. And we want these priorities to be prominently reflected in our instructional practices and our students' experiences in our high school. In order to fully integrate core in all facets of our program, we needed to reflect on what was happening in our classrooms, identify our strengths, and determine where we could make a greater impact. And we needed the entire building staff to do this together as a team. This year, I've structured our faculty meetings around small group discussions to encourage collaborative exploration of the learning opportunities within our building. In September, we revisited our shared vision for the year by reviewing our core values. By reconnecting with these values early on, we ensured that everyone, teachers, staff, and leadership, that we were all aligned to our collective goals. This was an essential step for setting the tone and direction for the entire year. In October, teachers self-assessed their progress, incorporating core attributes in their day-to-day practices, and shared their reflections in small groups, documenting takeaways on chart paper. There's been a lot of chart paper back in the high school this year, lots of markers. The idea was to create an open dialogue where everyone could learn from each other's experiences, successes, and challenges. The exercise allowed us to identify areas where we're excelling and areas where we might need more support or focus. In November, we switched it up and we took a personalized approach to our professional development on Superintendent's Conference Day. I invited our department chairs to tailor their PD to the unique needs and goals of their departments. Teachers left these sessions with new strategies and insights they could immediately apply in their classrooms. And the feedback from the staff was overwhelmingly positive, and they expressed tremendous gratitude in having that time to work with their colleagues in a meaningful way. In December, we reflected on the first semester and set goals for moving forward. In the reflections, we shared progress, acknowledging our successes and also the challenges, right? Changes is not easy. What made this process even more powerful was the involvement of our teachers in setting goals for the second semester. We heard directly from teachers about what worked, what didn't, and what areas they needed to see improved. This process ensured that every teacher has had a voice in shaping the next steps for our school. This past Monday, we reviewed all the feedback thus far by gathering into small groups once again and diving into deeper conversations. What was most meaningful was that the teachers could look at what their colleagues had shared, reflect on what resonated with them, and then consider what they would want to reapply, or reinforce in their own classrooms. And what really stands out to me is how the commitment of our teachers to core has sparked meaningful conversations to move things forward. And I'd like to just give you one specific example of a sign of this commitment. And I might get some of the wording wrong because I wasn't there, but something that has been particularly meaningful for me is what our science department did in the fall. And under the leadership of Ms. Burns, several science classes ranging in levels from our alternative high school to our AP Physics 2, they took the day, about 100 students, to go to Topgolf. And when they were at Topgolf, they collaboratively collected data using a 7-iron, a 9-iron, and a driver. And they were looking at, they were measuring, give me a moment, because I keep saying it wrong. Yes, projectile motion, right, against really everything that Topgolf has to offer. But the kids had a great time, and what they were trying to see is the carry and the swing and which would go the farthest. When the kids came back into the building, they were so happy. They couldn't stop talking about it. It was a collective lab experience. And kids that generally don't interact in classrooms were doing that. So I think it's just an example of a great experiential day where students were taking their science knowledge, you know, doing something unique at Topgolf and bringing it back into the building. So a lot of fun, super successful experience, and super proud of them for trying something different. And that's just one example. Next up for the high school, we're going to start engaging in instructional rounds and peer visits where every teacher is invited to go into another teacher's classroom. Well, actually 5 peers classrooms, a whole day of learning from one another. So we'll kick that off at the beginning of the second semester. So that's a little bit about what we have been doing so far this year and what's been going on in the building. And now I'd like to take some time to talk about how our high school program is structured to provide a solid foundation for students, meet their diverse needs, and help them develop a wide range of skills. And you can see from the slide up here, we have a variety of components to our program, from Regents to honors to AP to dual enrollment to elective courses. We place a strong emphasis at the high school on celebrating all disciplines, from the arts and humanities to science and technology. Every subject plays a crucial role in shaping well-rounded critical thinkers, and we believe that a balanced education is essential to preparing students for the challenges they will face in the future. Okay, we've made several updates to our program of studies this year to make it more accessible and more user-friendly. And here's just a snip of the high school website. And it's probably difficult to see from the audience, but if you look over at the channels on the top, our program of studies is directly accessible from that link. It's also accessible from every academic department's landing page. Last year, we transitioned to a digital format for the program of studies, which includes hyperlinks for easier navigation. All members of the board, you have a printed copy of the program of studies at your seat if you want to take a look. The digital version allows both students and parents the opportunity to explore courses, descriptions, prereqs, and related resources with ease. Additionally, next week on Monday, we'll have a homeroom and all students in the high school will get a physical copy of the book. And then for our rising freshmen, we've sent over enough for every member of the 8th grade class as well. And they'll work with Mr. Hutter on that. Another update we're very proud to share is the addition of flowcharts in our program of study. And we've added these flowcharts to help provide students and parents with a clearer understanding of our course pathways. And we're hopeful that this guide will make sequences and progressions easier for everyone to understand as they make informed decisions about course selection. So this is sample flowchart. They're all divided up by grade, suggested pathways in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. A couple of other things that I'd like to note. In New York, we're seeing some course name changes. Earth Science and Living Environment are being renamed, effective with the upcoming school year, to Earth and Space Science for Earth Science, and Living Environment is going to be Life Science Biology. When you refer to the guide, you'll see that we use both names just because the prereqs were the old naming configuration and next year's classes are the new curriculum. So just to provide that balance. This is also a little trivia. This is our new high school science department logo. You notice a little science graphic in our S. So very nice. Yes. Okay. We're going to see a shift in humanities next year. After careful consideration, we've decided to restructure our 9th and 10th grade course offerings in social studies and English to offer Regents and pre-AP options in 9th grade and a Regents and AP option in 10th grade. This change preserves 2 options which have defined state and national frameworks through which we can measure growth and achievement effectively. Both the Regents and AP programs have consistent and well-defined learning objectives and outcomes. This structure will now be consistent with our existing junior and senior programming in both disciplines, and it will also better align with our current approach to math and science, where we've had this system in place for many years with excellent results.
I just want to comment. I think this is a really kid-centered change that the teachers and staff have been talking about for a couple of years now, and I just want to compliment you for putting it into action.
Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit now about some new course offerings. We're very excited to have enhanced AIS support at the high school by reintroducing reading and writing electives next year. We're going to have a reading foundations class, as well as a writing and composition class. These courses will provide dedicated spaces for students to receive focused help, strengthening their skills across discipline. They will offer targeted support to help students meet academic benchmarks. And not available this year, but these flexible courses will now again be part of the updated program, and they're designed to respond to individual student needs. So super excited about these for next year. Okay. We are proud to continue offering dual enrollment classes in math, science, world languages, business, and art. We have partnerships with Farmingdale, Suffolk through their Beacon program, and the Project Advance program at Syracuse University. These courses allow students to earn college credit while taking high school class, while still in high school, giving them a head start on their college education. The benefits of dual enrollment classes are clear in that students can earn college credit, which may transfer to universities, saving both time and money. And dual enrollment courses also enhance college readiness by familiarizing students with the rigor of university level work. I also want to highlight our science, our Rise and Rise Tech program, our research in science and engineering. This is a real bright spot for us to be able to offer this. It runs as a full year independent study opportunity for students. It is open enrollment. Any student who has an interest is welcome in our program, and it progresses through 4 tiers. Students don't start their freshman year. They certainly can start their sophomore year. So it's a very unique approach to research and engineering, and something that is very successful in our district. So we're super excited to continue with the great work that the students are doing in there and the teachers that are supervising their work. Almost done. I want to take a shout out to some electives as well. We're proud of our strong elective program that allows students to explore diverse subjects, fostering personal growth and critical thinking and cross-disciplinary connections. Our program encourages career explorations and provides a well-rounded education that prepares students for future challenges. And popular recent offerings highlight the growing demand for hands-on tech-focused courses that equip students with practical skills for evolving industries. And I just have a handful here, but I want to mention our drone pilot flight school, which is a really great, relevant, modern elective that's really drawn a lot of interest. We're excited to offer it again next year. We have moved our video productions to our business department, and we're getting definitely more interest in this. It's another class that is very, very relevant in terms of broadcasting and presentation skills. I have to give a shout out to AP Ceramics. This is our first year offering it, and we have a really blossoming ceramics program. And I want to just mention AP Art History. I have a picture of a gingerbread house here, because our AP Art History students, this is just an extra assignment they could do at home while they were exploring architecture. And students at a gingerbread could make, monuments that they found to be intriguing. And kudos to Ms. Barati for, making the space for this. This is just one of many. If you follow the high school Instagram page, you can see others, but super great job. Okay. Just a little bit about our timeline. The program of studies was published on the website in December, and the release was highlighted on Parent Square. Again, the printed version of the program was shared with all students on Monday in the high school. This month, teachers are making core course recommendations for all students in the high school. The last week of January, school counselors will push into social studies classes to go over course electives with students. They'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Lunar New Year Wednesday. They will not. Thursday, Friday, and the following Monday. And scheduling for incoming freshmen follows this timeline, ensuring a smooth transition into the high school. And I just want to, again, express my gratitude to the Board of Education and the Cabinet for providing us with the opportunity to share these updates. And before I conclude, I'd like to reiterate the high school faculty's commitment to creating and maintaining a community of learning where students will foster meaningful connections, take ownership of their education, build resilience in the face of challenges, and above all, explore new ideas and interests. So thank you for your time and attention and your patience. Any questions?
Before we start questions, I just want to compliment Ms. Bricker and the entire high school staff. As you know, 2.5 years ago, we put out surveys. We studied the district. We asked parents what they believed they wanted for their kids. We asked students at the high school what they wanted for their learning. We asked teachers what they felt were important. And we said we believe in autonomy, but we want it to be connected. So the outcomes were clear. And there were 6 outcomes about communication, about problem solving, about independence, about having joy in school. And the high school jumped all over this and created CORE, which aligns perfectly with the outcomes from that study. So what you're seeing with CORE, connections, ownership, resilience, and exploring, and creating those opportunities, like Topgolf is just one example. We're bringing joy to high school level work. It's complex, it's rigorous, it's leveled for kids so that they could be met where they are. And I think it's just a testament to you and the high school staff to be able to create something based on what the parents, students, and faculty said was important to them. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I saw the English department had core shirts made.
Yes, today
And
I
they're very
wanted-
proud
yes.
to wear them. They sent me a photo.
Yeah, super exciting. I know I knew I was going long, but yes, so we have core t-shirts in the department. They're very fun. Thank you for mentioning.
Well, I have to say, since I have received no complaints about the high school, and I know a lot of children up there, you're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to comment on but my kid's only out a year. And already I can see that there's an increase in like the dual enrollment classes. And I know that, we promote them AP and dual enrollment so that maybe your child can shorten their college career. But really what it's done for both of my girls is it's given them the credit and it's opened up their ability to take electives that they wouldn't normally have access to on the college level, which has been huge, especially in the foreign languages, because they got their dual credit and they're already halfway through to a Spanish minor, both of them, because of the opportunity they had here. And it was very low cost to start to get those credits from Suffolk. So
Yeah.
I do think that as much as you may want to get out of college as quickly as possible, the experience is so important, and it really opens to minors that you may not have been able to access if you had to stay just on the college curriculum. So and I think that dual enrollment as opposed to AP, I mean, my kids took both of those. Dual enrollment, there's opportunities for kids who not always the top academic kids. There are many options
Absolutely.
that they can still get that idea of what college is going to be like, and they don't have to be the valedictorian. And there's nothing wrong with being the valedictorian, but only one kid could be that person.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's an excellent opportunity. Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Bricker, thank you so much for that presentation. Very comprehensive. I got a bit of this last night at the
Yes.
freshman experience meeting, which I just wanted to compliment the guidance counselors on that presentation. It was very thorough. I liked the flow charts. It made it very easy for me to kind of see where my freshman and junior will be going for next year. And what else did I want to say? Oh, I wanted to say, with all the new electives that you're offering, our kids are just so fortunate to be able to choose from such a variety of classes. And I know you and all the teachers in the high school with all their expertise make that possible for them. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Just one question, because you listed some of the colleges there, but do we do anything with Stony Brook?
We don't have a dual enrollment program with Stony Brook. We do sometimes have our AP seminar kids will go and do research and partner with professors there through our seminar program, but we don't have
Because
college credit through them right now. No.
I was at the school board's convention in the city in the fall, and Stony Brook was talking about a critical thinking. Maybe it's an AP, maybe that's that program or something like that. But they listed Sayville as being one of the participants.
We are not this year. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but
There
I
was
mean,
a time many years ago that we did have dual enrollment offerings with them. But what happens every year is we try and find the most cost-effective partnerships. And candidly, the Beacon program, the cost per credit was significantly lower than some other programs that we had been partnering with. So that is always a
A
factor.
factor in it as
And
well.
it's been several years that we've now had Suffolk. In the past, we also worked through the Scholars Program at LIU. We did do some with Stony Brook.
So it was a case of false advertising on Stony
Well,
Brook's
maybe
part.
it's aspirational. Maybe it's aspirational. I will say with our VEI program, they have reached out. We're with Farmingdale right now, but who knows?
Yeah. Okay. No, but fantastic stuff.
You know, I think I'll take a longer view than
Yeah.
just the course catalog, which is excellent because you're involved in it. But I think the hardest thing to do in a school is to create a culture of excellence and to achieve excellence, which is what we've been doing, but to at the same time promote a culture of joy. Like, how do you do that? We are doing it. I think we held on to the cool things that are like kind of good for a student body, like, you have pep rallies and things like that. But, I think for me, like even just mentioning Top Golf,
Yeah.
like, the Common Core attitude towards that would be like, well, that's valuable instructional time. But I think the flip side of that is that if you're like animated, engaged in relationships, you're going to do something with the education you get because you develop those social skills. And, something Ms. Macro said to me, which I thought like was really kind of just eye opening to me. A lot of times, the visitors will check out from other districts, will come to some of the our kind of SEL discussions that we're having, and someone will pose a question. Most districts, there's silence. That's not how our kids roll, and it's an animated, engaged discussion. Like there's something special going on, but you're continuing the torch that Ron created. I knew you would, but I think it shows because I think you have an academic brain as well as that kind of social emotional piece. I'm very proud of the leadership you're providing, and I just I'm really happy to see that we're holding on to that. Two areas I'd say from like say a curriculum standpoint, which I don't think always receive the emphasis, and it's more of a statement rather about just in global terms rather than about us specifically. Public speaking, like I worked in Rockville Center and Southside High School, that was a graduation requirement. So you had, at the time it was 22 credits, you had to do another 22 and a half. I think that's a skill that we don't explicitly teach all the time. It's embedded in a lot of classes, but not across the board. That's something that I think really is like in terms of like, earning a living, getting promotions, that's your performance. That's something just to put out there. And the other thing that, and it was actually raised to me by someone in the community that has, I think, really kind of a neat vantage point, media literacy. That's part of English, but I think we're seeing with disinformation out there, like the importance of, that's really vital to democracy.
Right.
So and that would be I'd see more embedded, but that also could potentially be an elective that I don't know. I just think that those are two areas: public speaking and media literacy. Again, just for them, it's more about society, less about us. But it's a way to align our education with really the future needs of a democracy.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a public speaking elective through the English department. And public speaking is incorporated in some classes. I'd say in world languages more than most, especially, I didn't include it in the presentation, but we do have a significant percentage of our students pursuing the seal of biliteracy each year. And if you have an opportunity in the spring to come and check out one of those presentations, they are awe-inspiring in terms of what our students do in a second language and some kids in 2 additional languages. Also, the presentation skills of our AP seminar kids and our AP research kids. Wow. But yes, always more that we could do. And thank you about the media literacy.
I'll go last. I think that as a leader, you've hit the ground running and you've done a great job, which is not easy.
Thank you.
The one thing that I would love to see, like maybe in the future, is not so much maybe in the presentation, but something that promotes or the kids who may not be going to college, the kids that college is not really their option. or maybe they just don't want to go to college, or maybe they want to jump into a trade. I would like to see maybe in the district in the future, this is on a district level thing, maybe bring the CTE program into Sayville, could create teaching jobs instead of us having to pay out for kids to go to BOCES. We could actually get money from local districts to come to our district to supply this. I do feel like we have, some of the best teachers on Long Island. So I feel like we attract top candidates. So I feel like that's something that we could move into as we move forward. I know sometimes, like, especially here, like, we're constantly promoting, and it's amazing that our percentage of kids that are going to four-year colleges and that, but regardless of how small the number of kids that aren't going to college, they're still our kids, and we need to do what's right by them. Not saying that we don't right now, but I'm just saying that that's something that I would like to see in the future, instead of that they have to leave, or they go to BOCES and they go to a CTE program and we ship them out. Maybe we look in the future to keeping them home and keeping that part, and then fostering that sense of community where it's like we're building, not only are we sending our kids out to the four-year institutions in the professional world, but we're fostering, local business owners and future business owners that may, choose to stay in our community, that way as well. So that's
No.
just one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't speak to that in in the presentation because we send students out, so I can't speak in detail about those programs, but absolutely. So much potential there, and a lot of students would be interested in that.
Yeah.
And they did speak about that last night at
Yes,
the freshman
the
experience.
academy,
Not correct, as well as enrollment.
Yes.
Enlisting, right? So either educate,
yeah,
enroll, or
it's very
enlist.
competitive, and it's often it's beginning to there be wait lists and things for different programs. But we have a large percentage of our juniors and seniors participate in the programs, and they're excellent. And so, yeah, it's certainly worth exploring what a homegrown program could be. Thank you.
You concluding?
Okay, so that brings our presentation from the superintendent's report to a close. Just want to thank Ms. Bricker and again the high school staff for a presentation and all the things to consider from the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Board of Education discussion. The first item we have is the baseball field dedication. Do you have any?
Yeah, so Dr. Cox was going to speak with you earlier, but we had the other items that we had to talk
Yeah.
about in executive session. But the main idea was that he wanted to do a presentation where there would be a dedication of the field. There would be a sign in left field. There would be a ceremony and then a little plaque in the dugout. The coach who had been there for many years, who also taught in the district, had dedicated basically his life to Sayville and had a meaningful impact on both him when he was a student here, but also on kids when he was a coach here and as an athletic director. And he felt it was an appropriate thing for a man who had spent 40 years in our baseball program, as he's, he just kind of retired from volunteering a year or two ago. And it would be a nice gesture to say that we appreciated the work that he did for our students.
Can I ask a question? Do we have any other fields that are named for someone?
Yeah, so the football field is named after a former Sayville High School principal,
Joe Buderman?
Joe Buderman.
Okay.
The football field, or
turf
the turf field here, is named after a fallen police
Oh,
officer,
right.
Timothy Hank. And I think those are the only field spaces that are named after people.
Is there criteria for this, or?
There's no criteria. The last time it was done was, I think, for the turf field for the fallen police officer. And then prior to that, it was the Joe Buderman field when that principal retired. Stephanie, do you remember when that was?
2014.
Yes. So it's been so
Yeah,
rare.
I worked for him, right?
Yeah, so we don't have a rubric. We
He
don't have a
hired me.
yeah, we don't have a rubric. We don't have a criteria. We
Yeah,
don't have
I
a,
was
because
just
it's so
unsure
rare. Yeah,
how this
Yeah.
happens.
right.
Because we have a lot of beloved, wonderful people in this community.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We don't have enough fields.
No, we do not. It was a request. It was it's something that Dr. Cox felt passionately about, and the teams and the coaches felt passionately about, and they wanted to present it to you. So, but there is no system of like, what's the rubric, what's the score? Okay, they qualify, they don't qualify. There's never been any discussion of anything like that.
Yeah, just to that point, if, I don't know this coach, I didn't play baseball, I didn't go to school here, my kids didn't play baseball, but if that's the name that's iconic with baseball in Sayville, then it seems to make sense that although there might be other people who were involved in baseball, if that's the name, then it sort of seems like that would be the appropriate person to name it after. Unless you want to wait around long enough until somebody else fills that spot.
That is-
I thought last week, I thought last meeting,
Yes.
we had discussion about that.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna trust the people who are from here, but
Ryan
I know.
says 40 years in the program.
He was around for a very long time. Way back.
Does he have a timeline?
He'd like to do it. He had mentioned that the gentleman is having health issues and he's worried about him, so he would like to do it, in the next month or so, just so that he could experience the ceremony.
No problem.
Sounds good.
Can always
Okay.
change it in the future.
Okay. Great, thank you. Next item.
Okay. I'm sure Ryan will do it, right? I mean, he'll
Oh.
have the alumni involved and everything. I'm sure that.
Yes, he's got a very thorough plan, and I think it would be a really nice event that he will create.
Let's see, the next topic is the regionalization.
Yeah, so just as a reminder, January 15th is the deadline for us to opt out of regionalization. I've looked at my colleagues across in our cluster. There's about 14 districts. Currently, I know of 4 that are opting out and 10 that currently are not. 2 of those 10 are discussing it further. I know 1 just did today. Again, you can opt out and then you don't have to think about it for 10 years. Or you can, we have the papers ready to go. Amy's been working on the submission of the data that they've asked for, and we can participate. And the thing of it is when you participate, what they're telling us and what it says in the new language is anything they suggest you can say no to. So from my perspective, we can opt out and not look at it. We currently share programs with Bayport Blue Point, with ConnectQuad. We share busing, we share sports teams with fencing, diving, and swimming. And there could be other potential sharings in the future that we constantly are looking to save. But if we do participate, we would go to these meetings, we would hear their ideas, and then we would continue to decide each time there's an idea whether you wanted to participate or not. And they might suggest something that we haven't thought of that could cost save for us with a district that we might not have shared with before, and that could lead to savings. So the promise on their end is that there's nothing they're going to suggest that we would have to do. You would get to decide. So based on that, you just have to tell me if you'd like me to write the paperwork to opt out, or if you'd like me to submit the paperwork to continue the participation, knowing that we have the opportunity to say no to anything they suggest moving forward.
If you opt out, it's as is, correct?
If you opt out, you're kind of not talking about it with them for
Not
10
gonna get
years.
invited.
10 years.
But we still
We can still do paperwork. The things we're currently doing, we could still do. And if we had other ideas that other districts wanted to do, we could still do them. It just wouldn't be going to meetings at BOCES to hear about their ideas to then get suggestions that we could then take or leave.
I mean, I'm in favor of savings, but I just feel like it's sketchy. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
they could change it. What if they changed it? I mean,
Do we have it?
is a massive commitment.
Yeah. And
like if we opt in, I mean, like if
But,
we
but
opt
they,
in,
but
yeah.
they're saying it's optional once you're in it. I mean.
But that's what
they-
they're saying
you know,
today.
what,
You know, Look how long it took us to get to that point, though, right? We had to keep going back and forth with
what
them.
happens if we opt out of it?
Then we're out for
Then
10
we're out,
years.
I
and
mean,
we
in the
can't
future,
participate
if we
in
say
it.
yes now, can we opt out?
I
No,
think
you
opt
we
in
can.
again.
No.
Once you don't opt out, you're kind of in and you're going to the meetings and you're
Yeah.
collecting data for them and you're participating in everything that they're creating for you. But then when they suggest something, you still have the right to say no, but we're spending manpower and time doing those things.
But it's for now, we have the option. They could always change that in the future. See, that's my
It went from mandatory
anxiety.
to voluntary.
It went from mandatory to voluntary.
That was pretty big,
Back to
right?
mandatory is pretty slim.
But if
we
we
think?
opt out, we may miss out on opportunities for our students.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
You might.
Yeah,
That's why we're
exactly.
here.
It's
Right.
kind of a,
And the fact that it's not, that
Catch
nothing, you don't
22.
agree to anything that's not binding, unless you're getting a feeling there's a waste of time, that there's no value to it. I feel like there are valuable conversations. Also, I know that the whole idea was sort of hijacked and blown up and
Yeah.
brought in a certain direction. But if there are conversations there, not only is there the FOMO of like missing out on something that really may benefit us, There's also we're not there, so we're not part of the conversation to hear what direction it's
Yeah,
going.
I understand
We have
that.
no ability to rein that back in, except to be on the outside and lob bombs at it. I don't see how, if it's voluntary, how you opt in and a year from now you decide this is not worth our time, and you're like, I'm out. What are they gonna do? It's voluntary.
Right.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So my feeling is. you
What is the
follow
language?
initially.
I want us to be in the know.
yeah.
Yeah, what is the what is the language on, let's say?
Look, we
do it-
already go to
Yeah.
meetings with BOCES. We already go to meetings with the state. Sometimes you go and you feel like it's a great experience and you learn some things and take away. And other times you think it's a waste of time. And you never know until you get there what it's going to be. So if you take, my attitude is always, can I get one thing from this? Can I get any idea? So even if there's 10 ideas and they're all stinky, but this one is a good one, then I come back to you guys and say, hey, we could do this with Bayport Blueprint. We could do this with
10 ideas and they're
Connect Quad. We
stinky
could-
and you're there to shoot them down.
Right,
Otherwise
Could
they
do that.
happen.
right. So
If
I-
the language is clearly not binding,
it feels clearly not binding to me right now.
This is a decision we
It's a
need to
lack
make
of
right now.
trust.
Well, we have
For
to,
the 15.
if we don't make a decision, then we'll just be in because you have to opt out by the 15th,
the 15th of,
January.
oh my gosh.
So you're not going to meet again. So this is your last chance to tell me what you want to do.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, 100% honest. This is something that I don't want to do. I don't think we need to do it. However, I am fearful of spite. I am fearful of 6 years down the road, the districts comes down. I mean, the state comes down, and all of a sudden, you said there's four that are opting out, right? So let's say we become 5, and we notice that the 10 that did decide to opt in get a bump in their state aid, and the 5 that didn't are magically don't meet whatever criteria
Yeah.
has been set, because the state traditionally is spiteful when it comes to things like that, and so that's the one thing that worries me. So if like Kelly said, if the language is clear and concise, and we have attorneys look it over, and you look it over, and we get a chance to look it over, then I say we opt in, as long as nothing, absolutely nothing is mandatory.
Yeah,
for us.
Gersier has looked at the language
Binding.
and said that it's not binding, based on what they're looking at now. But
Yeah.
to your point of changing things, but they
Yeah.
can change anything for the opt-out people too. So.
Right.
But they're gonna be first. I think they always want to be at the table. I don't ever think you want to push off
No.
decision-making abilities or influence or the gathering information. So I think that we should be there, and to not be there and there is a fear that there's changes that they're going to be made, and you're on the outside of that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like it either.
Knowing that there's no decision that would be made there that we have to follow through on. They can't tell us what to do with our finances. I am comfortable with it. As long as the
It stays that
cabinet
way.
feels, not only that it's, but even if it doesn't stay that way, we need to be on the inside to make sure it does.
I think the way it was rolled out was just put a bad
Yeah,
taste
I-
in our mouth
Absolutely.
about the whole
That's
thing.
SCD
Like, it's,
typical,
yeah.
horrible plan rollout of everything.
Clunky. So,
Always clunky.
so,
I have-
um,
Wait a
Well,
second.
yeah.
I have a little anxiety over this because a lack of trust in what sometimes the state says and what they follow through with. The word regionalization does not make me feel comfortable. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I don't know if we should. So my vote would be, I'm going to abstain because I don't have enough information that I can make a clear and concise decision.
Was there a reason behind such a long 10 years?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the joke that was going around was, by the time we get to the 10 years, the people who created it are going to be gone, and then they'll come up with some other plan that has nothing to do with this plan. So,
Right, which is scary.
It's scary.
Right.
It is very scary. And I think the majority of the board wants to go with it, so my abstention wouldn't mean anything. There's
I
a
mean,
lack
it's
of
not-
trust
it's
because
not
I've
even-
seen things happen over the years that have hurt education. Sometimes they don't look at some of the things that the students said it hurts. So I don't know if this is good. Regionalization, they have it in other states. If you look at the way they do it, are we going in that direction? That's scary to me.
But if our council looked at it and said, we're safe.
he said that, yes.
and as
For
far as
now,
if
for
we do
today.
opt,
I
if
know,
we
but
opt in and
we
we're
can't control everything.
I don't know.
if we opt in and we're participating, What are the, what does that entail?
We don't know
Participation?
yet. We're gonna go to
See, that-
meetings and find out.
there's me.
That's, the
Exactly.
plan
No,
is so
no,
underdeveloped.
Even,
It's not-
even to the base level, you just said go to meetings.
Right.
So what, we don't have any, like, not, we have no information.
We submitted, we have a whole document that they ask us questions about, what we do, where we spend our money, how we utilize services, what kind of courses kids take, et cetera, so forth. We haven't sent it in yet because I don't want to send it if we're not going to do it. But if we do choose to participate, we'll send that in. Then we're going to be formally invited to a meeting. I've been to many meetings on this. When I ask them, I specifically say, what exactly are we talking about? They give almost the same 2 examples every single time. Well, if 3 districts are going to the same location, you guys could share a bus. And I'm thinking, okay, but we do that, right? Well, if you have a sports team that only has 8 kids and another sports team only has 8 kids, you can combine the teams and you can have 1 team. I said, well, we already do that. So then the next question is, well, if you offer French and Spanish, but you don't offer Italian, but a district nearby offers Italian, you could send your kids over to that district to take Italian. And then, and I say, yeah, but what's the logistics of that? And what are they going to miss because they're driving in a bus to another school district?
And where are they
So-
getting a bus for one
So then
kid?
they say, well, those are just examples. There's no hard, concrete ideas yet. So the answer to your question is it's not fully developed. It's not concrete, but they want to invite us to these conversations where they're telling us these things are going to be based on the data we submit. And I don't know how long, but the time we submit it and they look at things to the time they make recommendations to us or have a meeting, what exactly they're going to be telling us. So
But
it's
I-
very,
I mean, I just want to touch,
we could.
Didn't
Yeah.
foreign language do that? Distance learning at the time?
We didn't, but we did consider partnering with a few different districts for French.
but I could
We
also,
could partner for that.
similar to
But
what
we can
Des,
do that without doing the
Yeah, but
regional.
similar to what
regionalization.
Desmond just said, I can imagine the state saying, okay, we'll take 1% of the overall budget, we'll call it regionalization aid for all the schools that are in.
Well, remember,
That's exactly.
And here's the-
And that's what I see.
here's
Me too,
the
yes.
part that I worry
That's-
about.
that's-
This is all not
That's my
just,
fear of saying no.
right, this
Yes,
is all
my-
tied to funding, right? So the idea is we want to reduce the amount of state aid we're giving to districts because it's too much. And so if you share resources properly, then we don't need to give you this money. So
Yeah.
I just worry about that it's all tied back to funding. And if you, oh,
Not
you
about
could have
kids,
partnered with
funding.
Connectment on this thing, but you chose not to. So therefore, we're not giving you
Hey,
X amount of dollars,
Yeah.
to your point.
So-
But I do also think that if you really provide, because they're not concrete on what the discussion's gonna be, that means that you can lead the discussion,
Yeah.
right? Like they don't have, so you go in and I
What
said this
discussion?
last time is, I said last time, I think one of the first discussions should be an audit of unfunded mandates and where the state can give relief on those, right? Like there's, why isn't it? It's about how, so that's exactly my point. So working with other cohort districts and walking in and having a joint demand on what you want to talk to, they haven't been clear on what they want, so this is what we want to talk about, this is what we're here. Choose that time wisely, right? It's about how to save money, that's what that was.
Yeah. That's, that, the fear also is, and central office, oh, we can have one central office for 4 districts, but the control will be gone for the district. That's what regionalization is for
No,
another
no,
state.
that's not what
It's
this
not
is.
named correctly, and that's really been an issue.
That's very
There is
scary.
organization, which is defined by law in New York State for you to have to be able to merge districts in that way. So they can't use this to override that. Those are very specific.
I understand that, but you see, that can change if it's gonna save money. That can change.
That's there. That option is there. We can
I
merge in
know.
Bayport tomorrow if we
I
want it
know,
and they want it.
exactly.
Okay,
We'll see.
So-
I don't know what the answer is.
yeah,
Before I vote, I just have one more question. Say you opt out, Bayport opts in. Are we still allowed to participate
Absolutely.
with schools that have opted in?
Yeah, our diving team is going to, is
So
with
there,
Bayport.
so
We have
you,
a
so you're
contract.
not
but,
just,
but again, unless they change the rules.
right, so.
Yeah, I think
So
you go around the
I just
table.
need a show of hands who would want to opt out, basically, who wants to opt out.
I think I vote to opt out.
I'm abstaining because I don't have enough information.
Anybody else? I guess we're staying.
Okay. I hope. Okay.
Okay,
Vote with, like, I think everyone should vote their conscience. I think we
Yeah.
should.
No, what you
Yeah.
are saying makes sense. You want to be at the table. I'm concerned about what you said, Desmond and Tom. What if we get penalized for that?
I see them taking a certain percentage of
Just
state
don't
aid
have
and
enough
say these are for all those schools that are,
It's a very tough decision.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll continue the paperwork and submit.
Unless between now and the 15th, something should change.
If we hear anything else, I'll,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
great. Okay, the next item on our agenda is upcoming training opportunities. We have the Longwood Regional
Yeah.
Legislative Breakfast on the coldest day in February.
Yes. Oh, great.
If anybody's interested in going, just to let Julie know.
Julie, I'll go.
Right, you have one table, probably, is that? Yeah. So, and then we'll fill any open seats with maybe PTA or something
Yeah,
like
and
that.
we have teachers who come as well,
teachers.
so.
Yeah. Teachers, come.
Longwood?
Go again.
You're sitting
Okay,
next to me, I'll
good.
share my table.
Okay.
Okay, then, what else do we have? The NISBA Capital Conference, February 7th, and the Lobby Day, February 12th.
How is the NISBA Capital Conference different than the convention that we just went to? Has anyone ever been?
Yeah.
I
years
have
ago.
never been to that.
Okay.
Years ago, but
That's only one day.
that's one day.
Right.
Yes.
True.
And where is it?
But they're during the week. Yeah.
Where is it?
Well, I
Yeah.
just want to know if it's different.
Where's the location?
Where is it?
Capital, well, the
It's in
Capital
Capitol, I'm
Conference.
assuming.
Oh.
Albany.
No, that, I don't, is the
We've
Capital
been to Albany.
Conference?
Albany
Not
is,
Capitol?
that's the 12th.
I would think it's, yeah, and they're both in Albany. but-
They're both in
Well,
Albany?
that's what I
Yeah.
meant, like in Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah, Albany, yeah.
Which one's virtual?
Oh, okay. It's a
Oh, okay,
virtual.
that's a virtual one? Okay, so sign me up for the virtual.
I'll sign up for the virtual one. I don't know if it's going to Albany if I don't have. it.
Okay,
Okay.
and then we have the claims audit report. Any comments on that? Okay, good. So now.
Anyone
we
going to
have-
Albany on the 12th? I'm not going, but that's a very interesting, because I've been there a few times.
Okay,
It's good, I'm not going.
any other board discussion?
It's my birthday. I think I'm going to Albany.
No, but I did just want to, says, before we go to public comment, that I just wanted to shout out, the Sayville boys basketball team, the Sayville boys basketball team booster, and, Laura Skelly. William Floyd, lost their assistant basketball coach, longtime assistant basketball coach, legendary guy in the community. And it was a car accident. It was a tragic loss, terrible loss. And they reached out on their own. Nobody had reached out to them to offer to bring out dinner to the team. And, the kids are going to bring it out, and they're going to sit, they're going to hang out with the Floyd kids, and the Sayville kids are going to bring it out. And I just thought that was really touching. And it was completely unsolicited. And they did that and offered that on their own. And it just made me, being a part of both communities there, it just made me like just so proud to be from here, because I thought that was such a touching thing. And it was outside of the box thinking. It wasn't like, hey, we just want to donate to the GoFundMe. It was like, we want to do something more personal for the kids. So I just wanted to shout them out, because I think that's important.
A few of the kids on the team, Sayville, had him as a coach. Coach now. Yeah. Oh, he's at some point in their career. Yeah. So it's very, close to their hearts.
I also want to just say, just from my point of view regarding the contract, the feedback I got was I was very respectful between all parties. It was a real partnership, and I think it's a testament to the district, and looking forward to the next 5 years. So it's awesome. Thank you.
He's doing a great job.
Okay. Now we have a public comment for the agenda topics. Would anybody like to make a comment on the agenda items?
How you doing? I'm
Good.
Brian Curran. I see you guys a lot now, and I'm enjoying it. I have one major complaint I want to bring up right now. Don't ever let my kids be home for 2 weeks again. Let's get them. Let's get them back in school the day after Christmas. We'll keep them home New Year's Eve and day. Back to school. All right, get that out of the way. The Armed Guard Forum was incredible. I had Miss Bricker. She was Aces. Loved her. A little biased in some spots, but no, I'm just kidding. She was great. I want to thank you guys for doing that, acting on that. I think it went really well for everybody. I mean, we were all open to it. You know, we keep coming to the meetings, as you mentioned, Desmond, because it's something we believe in. And the people who are against what we're for, it's okay. We're doing what's best for the kids. That's why we're here. What else did I have to bring up? What's that? I want to invite you guys to Sunrise Drive Bingo, February 7th. And then the mental health thing you guys are doing with PM Pediatrics, I think that's incredible. Like, I love that. The only problem is a lot of parents don't know that's out there. I mean, people like me, I'm not on Parent Square. But maybe like Instagram, Facebook, you just put it out there, because I think that's a great thing. Whoever was working on that, excellent. Great job.
Yeah, so that was our PPS department. And
Yeah.
I think the issue is, in order to get the service, you have to go through the school. So it's not
Yeah,
something that the
okay.
parents are calling PM directly for. But
Okay.
So we do want to, though, communicate with parents about if your child is having troubles or
Yeah, yeah.
upsetment, then go through your social worker or your guidance
Yeah.
counselor to help set that up.
We got to try to get it out to the
Yeah.
parents, because I think that's an incredible thing for these kids. And we've got to kind of make it so the kids are comfortable enough to bring things up too.
Yes.
And the parents aren't afraid to do it, you know, because if a kid's having a problem, bring it up.
We did want to
Yeah.
mention that Ms. Macris was going to reach out to each of the PTAs to do that same presentation in more detail, just to talk about mental health and support for students for all the elementary PTAs, the middle school, high school, and do like a more thorough. She did like a quick version because everyone wanted to get to the forum, but she has a more extensive presentation she'd love to do with Jessica.
What else did I have to bring up? What Desmond said about bringing trades into this school and having that get taught to these kids, I think that's an incredible idea. I mean, I may look like a finance pro or a model, but I'm actually a plumber. And I did trades when I was in high school. It was the best thing for me. I think it's really good to bring that in because, I mean, a lot of these people know I have 8, 9-year-olds working with me in the neighborhoods now. They love doing it. They have a blast doing it. And some of these kids who are doing it with me and helping are, you know, when I look at them, I see a little bit of me in them. So I'm kind of rooting for them, and I'm hoping that, you know, they pull it together. But I just think it would be really good to bring that in. And yeah, I actually just wanted to come up here and say you guys did a great job with the forum. Thank you for that. Do we know when we're going to find things out about that? Is it going to be the next board meeting, the 23rd?
Yes. We're going to give the information to the board members on next Thursday, and then the
Okay.
following week is that next meeting.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I have to say something. I just want to say, I believe strongly. No, I just. This will get another little giggle. I believe very strongly.
Looking at him saying, look at the guy, he's got broken glasses. Now
Yeah.
he's broken.
I just want to say, I believe strongly in education. And I tell all the kids, and I drive all the kids around all places, and I tell them everyone should get a college degree and then come out of college and become plumbers, electricians. And I said, hey,
I didn't get that going to college.
no, I know, but you see, today it's a little different. I think this way in 20 or 30 years, they decide, hey, I want to be an accountant. I want to be a teacher. Maybe I can go back to school a little, whatever. This way they have their bachelor's as a base.
If there's ever an opportunity where I can help a program like that, I would love to.
Okay.
Awesome. We love that.
In this community, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
That's
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
That's true. That's what I tell them.
Good evening. My name is Kara Corbin. I really wanted to thank the board and Dr. Ferris for putting on the forum on Tuesday. I've been a member of the community since I was in 7th grade, and I don't believe that we've ever done anything like this before. And regardless of what your opinions are, I feel like everyone was heard and it was in a respectful manner. That being said, I know the big question around the armed guards is how we're going to secure funding for this. In the last meeting, I know we talked about solar panels and how these panels would save us almost $500,000 per year. That would almost completely offset the cost of the armed guard. So I do want to press the board to kind of look at that as a way for funding rather than raising things or trying to cut other things that we do so greatly with the community. In addition to that, and totally off topic from the armed guards, we lost an amazing part of our community in December, Donald McKenzie. And I just wanted to extend my condolences to his family and to everybody who knew him. He was a teacher at Lincoln Avenue for as long as I can remember, and he started the Sayville girls track and field team. He made a remarkable impact on so many people's lives, and I really just wanted to extend my condolences to his family and my love and support for them. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll share you a personal story. I never had him as a teacher, but at Lincoln, he was always in the class. I was always in the classroom across the way, and they always had so much fun in their class. And my class were like, why can't we do what they're doing? He was an incredible teacher. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, Kara was in my group, and I'm so glad that you brought up the solar panel, because I purposely didn't. I had that written down to bring up as one of the ideas that was shared, but it was her idea. So I saw her in the crowd, and I didn't want to like steal her thunder. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I thought that was one of the things that was brought up that was like that I had never thought about, and I thought it was great. So I'm glad you brought that.
Yeah, and I just want you to know that we are thinking of as many ways as possible to save money, not to cut programs, but to save money so that we can provide programs, right? So, although we want to save money too, I don't want to misspeak, but the solar panels will probably get us about $470,000 a year minimum of savings. They're being installed, hopefully, if they're state approved with the contracts and everything, over the summer and into the winter, and hopefully coming online about a year from now. So it doesn't coincide perfectly with immediate action, but it definitely is a factor, because if we're losing money in state aid each year, that's something that could offset that. And there's many ways we can offset things to try to support other things. But we're looking at all angles of everything. One thing I wanted to say is, because some people said, oh, you're going to cut teachers to get more security. No, we're not cutting any teachers. We want to do everything possible to maintain programs, and decisions about security will be separate and apart from like cutting a kindergarten program or having class sizes of 32 kids. Like we're going to try to do everything we possibly can to maintain our programs and not cut something for something else, to try to incorporate and build into. So just wanted to be clear about that.
Good evening, everybody. Amanda Mullen. I also just wanted to take some time and thank the board and Dr. Ferris for putting this incredible forum together. I spoke at my first Board of Ed meeting almost 2 years ago after an incident, like Desmond said. That was sort of the motivation for me as a kindergarten mom to start to do the research of what this would take. And I have given you all a very hard time for almost 2 years about increasing school safety, not just for my own children and the rest of the kids into the community, but for the teachers that I have grown to love like family, for the security guards, the lunch monitors. Every single person that walks through those doors has a right to go home to their families. Since speaking at my first Board of Ed meeting, I have never stood at this podium and spit facts. That's just not who I am. I come to you as a parent, as a neighbor, as a community member from the heart, and I really want you to understand that at this forum, I felt like I was heard. Since that first night of speaking, there's been 163 school shootings in less than 2 years. And that's the first and probably the only fact that I will ever stand at this podium with regarding this matter, because I do know that every single one of you is a parent. Some of you are grandparents, aunts, uncles. And at the end of the day, our only job as a community is to keep our children safe, no matter the cost, no matter the measure. There's a lot of holes. I was in group number 10, Kelly, and we learned a lot as a group, and I think as a community that night, of things that could be better in every single building. And I hope that everything is considered, not just perimeter guards, but that everything is considered, because all of these changes collectively will make a huge impact to keeping our kids safe. And at the end of the day, I'm a Sayville grad. I bleed purple and gold, and I always will. And I care about every single person that lives in this town more than I can describe to you, which is why I do what I do every single day. And I push as hard as I've pushed. But really, I felt heard. And I think that everybody else did too. So I owe you an intense amount of gratitude. And I'm just, thank you. Truly, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna put on my broken glasses. Okay, so I need, do better this way. We're gonna go, I need a motion for items 601, recommended action minutes, to recommended actions 7.08.
Motion. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So.
Well, let's do motion.
Okay.
Second.
Thank
Okay,
you.
the discussion.
Okay, so 702 is the surplus for special ed audio books, right? So I was just wondering, in the disposal process, if we could add a piece of seeing if other districts or libraries can use such items
Very good idea.
rather than disposing of audio books?
Yeah, I think we can absolutely look into that. And we have a great relationship with the library over here in Sayville.
I mean, our library may not need it, but maybe another town's
Yeah,
library
sure.
or a district.
I think it's wonderful to give to
utilize
other,
them.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, I think actually it's not necessarily, it's just to take them off our inventory. So I'm sure they try to find.
I think we try to find homes for them,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
the point is like, we can't dispose of them unless we vote on it to
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
once it comes out of our circulation.
Yeah.
Right, so I will, if you vote to do this, I will talk to Danny and to the team and say, okay, let's take them off the shelves so we have a place for them, but then let's figure out a place to donate.
It frees up the space, but they don't have to
Agreed.
throw them out.
Sometimes there's stuff that just is
It
not
can't be used
salvageable,
anymore.
but that stuff we'll throw out.
I
But
just think we're very fortunate
Yeah.
with stuff and not everyone is. So if
Agreed.
we can help,
yeah, that's
Awesome.
I can agree to do that.
thanks.
Okay,
I have a question. I'm sorry.
I just had a question about 7.4, the athletic training services from Orland and Cohen. Will we be able to request a certain person from Orland and Cohen, or does Ray just send us whoever?
Right, so Ryan will meet with Ray, and then they will discuss the person. And then in addition to the person, the nice thing about going with a company like this is that they have the ability to give like subs, or if we have two big games happening.
Oh no, I 100%. I actually know Ray Nelson very well, and Orland and Cohen as well. I was just, they're big. So, but and in anything, some are better than others, and I know that. I was just wondering if we had any input. If was Ryan going to be able to say, "This is the guy I want"?
I think they're going to meet and have a guy, and he'll meet them. And if he doesn't like him, he can express that
Okay.
and get a different guy
Yeah.
or gal.
I had a question about that also, 704. What other two companies did we send requests to? It said it was,
She's gonna answer.
So we send out RFPs to other firms that we may know that could provide those services. And Ryan has that data, but we only received one in return. So just because you send a request for proposal out does not necessarily mean that that entity will return a
Right,
quote.
so this was the only company that gave us a
I
return.
found that odd that only 1 out of 3 would be interested in doing this for Sayville.
I just.
It could be timing, it could be.
Staffing.
It's also
But we
it's
didn't know.
tough too. Yeah.
Really?
Well, Ray Nelson was president of our school. board,
I've
too.
heard his name forever.
Okay, I just wanted to, I didn't know if you were aware. He's a good guy. I went to physical therapy in his group. I know it's.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd that I read that the 2 others didn't reply.
Yeah.
It could just be timing or that they don't have.
So as an example,
personnel.
we did a roof bid and nobody applied. And then a month later we did it again, and then we got a bunch. So sometimes it's just timing. Maybe they don't have the staffing at the moment. Like it's just, maybe they don't even like the price range and they're not even interested at all. So
And just to your point, Trustee Minga, Dr. Cox said when it becomes official and the board accepts the recommendation, I think he's going to reach out tomorrow, just like Dr. Ferris said, and talk about the staffing for the
Who is
Sayville
that?
School
And
District.
Yeah.
And if we don't.
'Cause I-
name
yeah.
Someone, I'm sure he will make sure we don't get them.
So also 705 and 706, I'd like to thank the people for
That
the
was
donation.
Kelly's was gonna do that.
Okay, good.
well, I also want to mention that the donation from Susan Barlow, $1,000 for the high school and $1,000 for Lincoln Avenue. The motivation behind that was actually in honor of Donald McKenzie. So I'm glad the parent mentioned that this tonight, but it was his existence that kind of was in honor of those two donations. So we want to thank the people who did that, but it goes back to that great teacher.
Thank you. Okay, so all those in favor? Motion passes. And then I need a motion for items 801, new business personnel, to 902, new business other.
Second.
And then we had, there were three policies that we're approving in there. They're going to be approved tonight. Okay.
And does that mean the contract just got ratified?
Yes.
Just want to point out that at that motion with that vote, the STA contract just got approved.
Yay. And then with this motion, the policy will be approved. So all those in favor? Against? Motion passes. Okay, and then dates. Great. No, I got it. So on January 15th is the middle school concert at 7 p.m. January 16th is suicide prevention workshop. That is at 6:30 at the middle school. On January 16th, 17th, 18th is the high school winter drama, The Outsiders, at 7 p.m. And on January 18th is a 3 o'clock performance. January 20th is Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday, so schools are closed. January 21st and 22nd is a middle school concert at 7 p.m. And on January 3rd is a Board of Education meeting at 7:30 at the old junior high. Okay, on the 23rd. Okay, so then now I can open it up to general public comment. Anybody have anything general to say? I think we exhausted everything possibly. And it was a long board meeting. Again, wish everybody a happy new year. And I need a motion to, do we have to go and accept?
Yeah, before we do, I just want to compliment Jillian Macris, who actually set up the PM Pediatrics. She did a great job with that, and I just wanted to hit that and mention that. I know she's listening at home with the flu, so thank you, Jillian. Maybe.
Okay, I need a motion to go into exec to discuss particular personnel. Motion? Second? All those in favor? Good night.
Desmond, that was a great. Desmond, that was a great line. Oh, she was falling over.